Okay, guys, we got one more segment to go. I know it's been a great conversation so far, so let's get it out there, and then we'll talk about history and a little bit of woo-woo too, and some local, some interest stories. I know, Dylan, you got three really interesting stories. I'm going to let you lead the dialogue on the first one here. So, what do we got?
Yeah. So as you guys know, I've kind of been fascinated by AI, and it's kind of burst onto the scene. I tried to avoid it. Then I played around with it, and I'm like, oh my god, this stuff it's scary in so many ways. Um, but one of the things we've been talking about is that job losses due to AI. And Goldman Sachs just put out a report predicting 300 million jobs will be lost or degraded by artificial intelligence. And it's kind of hard not to believe that and see that happening as soon as you go play around with something like ChatGPT or some of the AI tools. Just what it's able to do and accomplish, like it gives you like a superpower. You can, and it's not perfect now, and ChatGPT right now isn't connected to the internet. So it doesn't have all this real-time data. It can't like look up certain links and stuff. So it's doing all this not connected to the internet, just by based on a certain set of data that it was given to study and learn and optimize on. And if you go play around with it, you could see, like, if you ever need any marketing, it's like having an expert at your fingertips for zero cost. And if you can take that and load it into robots or whatever else, just imagine what it can do. Any sort of thing that's task based that you don't really have to think about, that's kind of like step 1, step 2, step 3, like that stuff can be automated away really quickly, especially with where we're going with this. And it's wild. So I totally believe that, and that's gonna be a huge factor in play in the future, just from like a technological innovation standpoint. But if you go to the next article, Jeff, it goes even beyond that. So like I'm no AI expert or anything like that. I'm just a guy that likes to find cool things on the internet. And there's literally a proposal from guys like Elon Musk and some of the top thought leaders in the space, a 6-month AI pause, right? In development of the space, because what the big issue, and this is like the big thing, we're talking about significant changes beyond just being able to like automate away the person serving you hamburgers at McDonald's, right? It's what happens if this becomes smarter than humans, right? And is not aligned with the goals and outcomes that are beneficial to human society, and instead aligned with its own, whatever its own goals or outcomes are. What if we mess that up? What are the implications of that? And when you go down that route, um, it can get dark very, very quickly. And you are having very, very smart, very well connected people say that a pause might be something that is very, very important, and that this is
I all think we should consider a pause, don't you guys?
I don't know.
I'd say so if they're saying so. I don't want no Terminator coming. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. I don't want Terminator.
Yeah,
it's kind of like Bitcoin, where like the cat's out of the bag. Like, and I know this is where some of the debate is, and I want to go into more on this.
It is and it isn't, because you just said it's like to the internet right now. So we haven't given it a full access to just we're not giving it CRISPR or anything. We're not giving it access to like really do damage. So
I don't know, man.
But
I'm concerned with Bill Gates. I mean, Bill Gates wants to release another version out. I don't know if it's out yet or not. And he can't wait to get started. That concerns me. That guy, whatever he wants to do, I recommend the opposite, because that guy, I don't like what he's been doing over the last 10, 20 years. And usually that's whatever he wants to do, it's a bad sign. I usually try to go the other way.
Yeah. It's just like, it's mind blowing that we're at a point in 2023 where they're trying to get countries, nation states, to basically make it illegal or crack down on people developing AI behind closed doors. It like on a similar scale to developing their own nuclear weapons. Because if you read the other tweet, if you read the last thing, it's a tweet. I want to show you that, then we can all discuss this. This is by Yudkowsky. He's become kind of a vocal person in the AI space. I shared with our group, our Economic Preppers Telegram group, like an interview with this guy. I'll over to that.
Yeah, I messed it up. I'll get it back up in a second.
And so he's much more on the doomer side. Not everyone agrees with him. But it's like the saying in the Superman movie where Batman's like, even if there's a 1% chance he could be bad, we need to do everything in our power to stop him. When you're dealing with someone or something with world-ending potential. You have to be
I
extremely
mean,
cautious.
that tweet was very clear. It said, "Is it like worse than nuclear war?" Like, I would agree. So I would agree
There you go,
that
guys.
when you said it earlier, you said something like, "It's going to be big, like a nuclear war," and we've seen these wars happen before. But I don't believe nuclear is even going to be a big of a deal. Like, imagine something like Operation Sandman coming through. If that really happens and you have a coordinated attack on the United States dollar, that is worse than any nuclear attack that we could possibly have. It'd be a global nuclear attack. And these are the things where you do start to worry about what's going to happen, because these kind of tools have huge implications in our lives, and it's going to affect every one of us.
Well, I'm going to go back to the very first story, the first thing that we were talking about here. And like the Goldman Sachs 300 was it 300 million? Let's get
Yeah,
that
300 million jobs.
300 million jobs, right? This is a story that really pulls on people's heartstrings because people are worried about their economy. This affects them directly. This is something that like it impacts them, could impact them tomorrow if they got laid off, right? So that's a big deal to them. But as part of any industrial revolution, which we're allegedly on the fourth one now, people lose their jobs. People don't drive horses and buggies now. So horses had to find other things to do. People like used to do that. Those like worked on all that industry, all went away because that's what people were worried about, the car driving that out of the horse and buggy. But modernization happens. People lose their job due to modernization. People were worried about automation coming to assembly lines. Well, now we have no one that actually does anything or does any work. And now we've got kiosks at McDonald's and other restaurants because we don't have anybody that wants to take our order. So I'm not worried about the jobs. I think the jobs will sort itself out. That if anything, like if we're ever going to get to a world like in the future that we see in these futuristic movies, or even like Star Trek, where you're out there and you're asking the computer what's going on and you're able to enjoy the time that you have, you need the mundane tasks taken care of. The thing that we have to watch out for is, do we let the cat out of the bag too much, and they wind up figuring out a way to figure out the robots are smarter than us. They don't need the humans. They'll just kill us and take the resources. We don't need to build a virtual Genghis Khan. We don't need that.
No, and some people call it summoning the demon, right? You don't know exactly what you are bringing into existence with this stuff. That like it's so weird because we're at this really interesting time. I think these conversations are fun. I think they're also important because this technology, like it has the power to optimize so many businesses, so many workflows, like change the world, right? It's that powerful and can be used for good, but also it could destroy so many things. I mean, just it's wild. And the fact that like, don't you guys think it's wild that there are like influential people in the world, like significant influential people being like, hey, we need to pause this, right?
Yes, that's a problem. I think we should listen. I agree. I think that we should listen. You know, I am going to go straight up ninja on us. I hearken back to watching Little House on the Prairie with my dad. And I remember thinking how life is going to be so much better in the future. But here I am sitting here going, I don't know, part of me wouldn't mind getting rid of Bitcoin as long as we can get rid of like AI and all this other garbage that's coming and go back to a simple life. And there's something beautiful about the simplicity in life. And I think we're missing so much that, I don't know, as a dad, I'm a little bit afraid for my kids. How do you shield them from all of this stuff that's coming? Dylan, just stop playing with AI. Listen to Elon for a little bit, please. I beg you, please just stop chatting with GBT.
I've already made friends. It'd be really hard, you know.
Jarvis is not your friend.
They have personalities. I live in the mountains, guys. I don't have much to do.
I've got Glocks. I'm not worried.
Yeah, you need another hobby there, Dylan. But yeah, anything. I'll go back to Bill Gates. Whatever he's in favor of, I'm voting against it.
I hear you, man. I'm on board with that one.
Yeah. So to wrap up, I think I think Patrick, you mentioned this earlier, and it's worth mentioning again because we're doing segments. Operation Sandman. I think that people who, if you don't know what that is, a coordinated attack against the dollar. Basically, all the countries flooding the market all at once with U.S. treasuries, basically saying no one wants these dollars anymore and flooding them back to the U.S. And that could be part of the BRICS nations system. But I wanted to wrap this up fully. I wanted to hearken back even to where did the Federal Reserve start? How did it start? What happened? So there's some history. Let's start with this week ago, 80 years ago, this week. Do you guys know what happened? I don't have the image for it, but I did see it, I think, on Instagram. 80 years ago.
The meeting of Creature Jekyll Island.
Not quite. It's 1933. That helps you with the math.
No, it does not help me. I don't care about history. I never even learned anything real in high school.
1933. Did I say it wrong, Pat? If I did, I apologize. But 1933, it's the announcement of gold confiscation. So that's and again, that was part of the Federal Reserve. So the Federal Reserve was started in 1913, along with the IRS and income tax, all the same year. Imagine that they all started at once. But the real question is, who owns the Federal Reserve? And this paper, I dug around and tried to find the best answer to this. Some of you already know this answer, but I found a good source of this goes through all the different. There's citations all through. This is like a research paper. It was really well put together of who owns the Federal Reserve, and it goes through here and it lays out, who is it? And we've heard these names. These names are if you've read the Creature from Jekyll Island, or if you've heard the story about the Titanic, or you've seen these names before. Rothschild is often mentioned. Rothschild here, Lehman Brothers is mentioned here. That kind of harkens back to the last global financial crisis. Now you get that word stuck in my brain. Thank you, Patrick. The Warburg, you don't hear about them much, but you've got all these different names: Goldman Sachs, Chase Manhattan Bank. So that Goldman Sachs and Chase, that's another reason why, if you're thinking about what banks could be safe, I would really think that Chase Bank is going to be a safe one, because they allegedly own the Federal Reserve. So if they're going to preserve that system, they're going to be one of the last ones to go. But here's even more names that involve the New York federal banks, and there are 12 banks that are set up. And this is a huge paper. I'm just going to scroll real quick and it talked about how it got passed. But let me drop out of here and just talk to you guys for a minute. But it's got a list of everybody that owns these banks, but it goes back to there's the Federal Reserve set up 12 banks around the country as regional banks, San Francisco, Denver, and you see them on the mint stamps and the dollars.
Yeah.
But the main one is New York, and that's where a lot of it starts from. And they kind of own the other 11. So if you want to really know who owns what, dig into the part of the paper that says who owns the New York branch of the Federal Reserve. So they don't publicize this. The Federal Reserve, if you don't know the history of money, watch the History of Money Part 4 from Mike Maloney. It's a really good. It tells you how the money flows, and it's created by the Federal Reserve that's out of nothing. And they get interest payments paid to them, and they write checks against no balance, and they get and create dollars out of nothing. So that's how we wound up in this mess, and that's how we've reinvented the dollar in 1933 with the gold confiscation, in 1944 with Bretton Woods, in 1971 when we went off the gold standard, in 73 when we went to the petro standard, in 2008 the global financial crisis, and now we're at the next one. So while fiat currencies usually only last about 28 years on average, you can make an argument that the dollar has been reinvented 4 or 5 times since its inception. So I'll leave you with that, guys. You can go share your final thoughts and comment on that, and then we'll wrap up the program, because it's been a long one, but a great one too. Patrick, what are your thoughts?
Well, one thing that you mentioned was really interesting, because as we talk about JP Morgan Chase, I bank with Chase whenever I have to. And I'd have to say that they do seem to kind of just keep going along while everyone else has problems. They seem to just keep chugging along. And I don't think that that's completely by coincidence.
Dylan?
Just as the last article you shared with all the owners of these banks just raised the question in my mind, like, are we actually living in the evil empire, the Star Wars empire? Are we part of the empire and not realize it, and not part of the rebellion? Well, I guess we're part of the rebellion.
No, I'm part of the rebellion.
But
yeah.
but I mean, like, people like to think America's the the good guys, and we are we stand for what is right, and we are justice, and we have the right perspective on the world, and it could be that, hey, we are actually the empire, and that's an interesting thing to think about.
That's going to be a hard lesson for people to realize, especially those who've gone overseas to fight for this country and thinking they may not have been on the right side. But, you could be We could be inside the Death Star. We could be inside the Death Star, inside the Matrix. We just don't know. But this is more information so you guys are prepared and not scared. So I hope you enjoyed this program. If you like this, please like, share, subscribe, do all that cool stuff. Hit the notifications bell, share these videos. Remember, we're on Rumble, we're on BitChute, we're on YouTube. We also do Substack as well for podcasts. And in addition, like if you guys want to do if you guys are interested, we might even look at doing a live show. I'm looking to see how we can do that. So, and if you have guest suggestions, but we read every comment. We love everything you guys do for the program, and we're working on that store as well. But with all that said for today, be prepared, not scared, and we will see you next time.